Welcome back. We're into episode 5. And if you have been watching any of our previous videos or listened to any of our previous recordings, then you'll know that we have a regular rotating episode where we look at things like the news, hot takes in Pokemon right now, hot cards. And today is that episode. So we're going to kick things off with the top headlines. And Dom, my co-host, is here with me again today. I believe you're going to kick things off with a pretty major event.
Yeah, so since the last time we dropped any news headlines, this one has popped up, and I don't think anything symbolizes a hot Pokemon market like 40,000 people turning up to a forest in Seoul, Korea, all clamoring to get their hands on a Magikarp promo card. I know you've sort of seen a little bit of what happened here, but in terms of the breakdown, it was for what was going to be a 30th anniversary celebration for Pokemon in the forest. And what was the celebration? Turned out that they totally underestimated how many people were going to arrive and how many people, I suppose, were looking for this card in one way or another.
I really want to know. I really want to know, like, what they were thinking, kind of deal. Like in hindsight now, right? Like, what were their estimations on how many people were going to show up? I wonder how many cards were actually available, right? I mean, is it like, I don't know, I don't even know where to begin, but things like this have kind of happened in the past before, haven't they?
It was a whole event in the forest, and I suppose they would have expected, Pokemon's big, they've done it on purpose, it's the 30th year, they know that this is going to be a large event. Perhaps they maybe a quarter of the size, perhaps maybe half at an absolute push. But apparently, 5 hours before it even began, the crowds started to get too big, and eventually they had to cancel it. But it was like a scene out of sort of a Pokemon apocalypse where people were banging at the doors and they were desperate to get their hands on that card. They refused to leave. And I know that on a sort of slightly more serious subject, a few years ago in Seoul, a Halloween event got out of control and there was a massive crowd crush, and actually 100 or so people were even killed. So I think once they realized that things were getting out of control, they were quick to pull the plug on this.
But like, even if you have a good estimate of the amount of people that you think are going to show up, right? And then understanding that you're probably going to have less cards, there's always going to probably be less cards available than the amount of people show up. That would be common sense or logic to me in this situation. So if you've got a situation being created where you have a ton of people and then you're going to have less inventory than people, then surely you've got to have really good processes in place for that level of crowd. And so I just think they must have. The only thing I can think of is that they really underestimated the size of the crowd.
I think
versus
so,
the ratio of crowd to Pokemon cards, right? And that then things got out of hand. I just think it's a lack of hindsight or a lack of foresight with the size of the crowd.
Yeah, I do also think like perhaps it wasn't all about the promo cards, and it's easy to say that, but let's be honest, everyone who attending, once they realized there was an event-specific promo, they really would want a copy of that.
Yeah. Which, by the way, just quickly, we should probably say why to anyone who's not familiar with why there would be hype around an event-type card. You've got probably more experience with this over the years than me. This has been done by Pokemon a couple of different times, and those cards typically go on to be high value, right?
Well, this is a single print promo. It's never going to happen again. There will maybe be another Mega Festa 2027 if it goes ahead in future. But this particular promo card, I mean, have you seen the card?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Yeah, it's not a great card.
Hang on.
It's not holographic, and like to think you'd turn up 5 hours early and be physically hitting at a door and I guess giving some people abuse that you desperately wanted this promo card. It's a tough one, like in terms of whether it's worth it. But then equally with the market the way it is at the moment, and certainly with promos, I can also see why you really would want one of these.
There's been history in the past of things like this because of the exclusivity, just going for silly money. So you can see why a bunch of people would lose their heads.
Yeah, I mean the Van Gogh Pikachu obviously being the biggest
great
of them, and people fully throwing punches in the museum shop over a card.
Pop on that, like what is the pop on that? And the population's on that like stupid high.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I think it's the Burgachu has overtaken it as the most graded card, but it's the second most graded card, and it's absolutely loads. It's definitely six figures. So do
you know what my brain also does in this like situations is like, say they had 40,000 people, say that was more than what they estimated, say just hypothetically double, just say they expected 20,000, right? say they had printed 10,000 cards. They thought 1 in every 2 people would get this if they were there on time. Somewhere right now is potentially 10,000 Magikarp promo cards. I think some have leaked, but isn't there got to be a big bag or box somewhere?
Yes, it's interesting because I had a little look on eBay to see like what's the deal. Like, can I get one of these? And I'm not being that guy, but I had a look, and there are sold listings from Korea of between sort of £200 and £400. There's definitely sold at £300, and there are people that are listing them with pre-order. So whether they've got a hookup with like somebody who's, because these, like you say, these cards exist. They're gonna end up in circulation. And then another thing I was thinking about this, like
lore.
This card sucks, right? Yeah. It's not even a cool Pokemon really. And so had this event gone as planned and like smoothly, and everyone who like say, you know, just under the threshold turned up, they all just waited in line, they got their card. Would that card be £300 right now?
No, the lore attached to it now is going to carry this card, depending on how many get into the wild. The lore of this card is going to give it a new base value because it wasn't treated like it should be, which is just a shitty promo. Here, another way of looking at it, Dom. Imagine if this would have been like a Grail looking card, and this was like a Gengar or a Charizard, and then they refused to hand it out, this exclusive banger. That would have been, people would have died.
The forest would have burned. Yeah, it would have been bad. It's crazy, isn't it? There's just a level of like fire in everybody to hoard everything, basically. Like, you got to have it. That's why these people, you know, this isn't like an online order where they're queuing for hours. They've gone down to the city, they've turned up hours early. Like, they have to have it, you know. There aren't many things that I would go and do that for, to be quite honest with you. And a Magikarp.
There's not many Magikarps. There's not many Magikarps I would go do that for.
No, it's a pretty crazy one.
Right, this is going to be an interesting one to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I next headline?
We'll have to keep an eye on like PSA populations for this and just see sort of how it goes over the coming months, whether it will dip or maybe it will become like a cult thing. Actually, one last point on this. I did see a Reddit post about this event, and I think Magikarp used to have did it have a move in the games or like on the old card? There was like Flap or something, or Flop.
Yeah, Flap. It did nothing. Yeah, it did nothing.
Yeah, and somebody had just like put a Reddit headline that was Seoul Megafest 2026 flop or whatever.
Brilliant. No, is it flop flap? Oh, that was a really good one.
The next headline.
Big one.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's talking about it and we know exactly what it is. Go ahead with it and announce what that one is that we're going to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, as you said, it's really hot news right now, and it's the fact that Gamestop has floated the idea. I don't know if they've officially put a bid in, but they've floated the idea of wanting to buy eBay for, I think, around the figure of 56 million was floated again.
Billion.
Billion. Sorry. Oh my goodness me. Yes, billion. What am I talking about? Goodness. MBA here. Wow. Billion. And you know, there's all sorts. Okay, so what else has happened? On top of that, obviously this has come out, and then on top of that, the CEO of GameStop has gone on a major news network here in America and had a memorable interview. I'll leave it at that for now. But there's all sorts of, well, first of all, we could talk about what the implications or ramifications would be of something like this happening. But then we can also look at the likelihood and all the detail that goes into the likelihood of a deal like this ever being possible, and like, why the hell are we even at this point here today, right? So there's so much to break down here.
I think I'd start with that. Is this actually possible? So the GameStop total valuation is around 12 billion. eBay's currently sitting at 56. He did come out, Ryan.
Billion or million?
Billion, yeah, for sure. And Ryan Cohen, he did come out, didn't he? And he said, like, this is going to be funded through the Canadian bank, TD Bank, and that they were going to finance part of this proposition. But a couple of the other things that have happened since, you know, with him going on eBay and like started posting on Twitter about how, because people were asking him constantly, like, how are you going to afford this move that you've come out with? So he's kind of trolled them, and he started selling items on eBay on his own account to raise funds for the merger. And he's like put his socks on there. He's put like old GameStop merch, like mugs and stuff. And people were bidding these items up into the 5 figures. Like, I think his socks were at $14,000 at one point. eBay then sort of warned him, and then later on that day they pulled the plug on his account. They killed his account. And
but why? Doesn't eBay have a new rule where you have to pay upon, like, there's no messing around anymore? You have to pay upon winning something?
I think them reacting like that has almost kind of played into it. And so, but whether they did, I don't know, it might have been a system, because he listed these items under essentially quite a new account. And then the account would have picked up, like, you're selling all these items at 5 figures a piece. Something scammy's going on here. And they've tried to protect the buyers. But the buyers were well in the know. I think they were all on the joke. They probably wouldn't have even paid for these items. Let's be honest. They'd have let them go for 20, 30.
Probably shareholders of GameStop. They're probably shareholders.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's already the biggest meme stock, right? So it just sort of feeds into that notion that GameStop are just never going to go away.
I mean, I remember everyone laughing at Elon Musk when he said he was going to buy Twitter. Like, everyone had a little bit of a chuckle at that, and then he ended up, and for not any part, sorry, am I comparing Elon Musk and his wealth with the CEO of GameStop and GameStop's market cap? But you just never know nowadays, because I do know that there is a million ways of raising capital, and there's a million ways of using funds or manipulating funds to be able to put something down or afford something on paper.
Yeah, if you can get the backing, then and it works on paper. That's the main thing. No one's really going to transact.
Yeah, that's right.
Here.
Did you see the interview? Did you see the interview on the Fox News?
I haven't seen the interview. Please enlighten me on exactly what went down.
Yeah, he doesn't do himself any favors unless he is just playing into the troll character harder, and that is a part of this play. It was a little bit cringeworthy with the backwards and forwards with the silencers of, like, getting a better answer or answering something properly. And then obviously the news guys, to their credit, even Fox News, they're well prepared, and they've come with their data facts, and they've come with their maths, and they're going to do their math live. And they did, in an awkward conversation, and like, he didn't come across like he convinced anyone by the end of it. Let's say that much.
Yeah, we discussed, didn't we, that, like, perhaps this is just a PR play and they're not looking to buy it, but it's getting their name out there hard. I mean, they're already, like, GameStop itself, aside from being a meme stock and having that whole bull run that they had when Wall Street Bets basically ran GameStop up right through the roof. They've used Pokemon now as a bit of a crutch for, like, a while. They started selling graded cards. That was a big news story, and I haven't got a GameStop here in the UK. So this is an interesting one as well. Like, do you ever go to GameStop with Pokemon in mind?
Yeah, sometimes I do, but it's the last thing on my list, or the last place, because in that adoption of mass Pokemon, they also went above our MSRP to put their own little, like a independent game store would do, or an independent card shop would do. They're inflating, which I just think is bit ridiculous for a brand of their size.
Well, they cottoned on to the fact that they were leaving money on the table.
Definitely.
And they didn't want to be in that situation. And also, so when they got into the graded cards, like, the quantity of sealed product is just not enough to sustain the profit levels that they want to keep up, even if they go above MSRP. I would have thought, like, just the volume of sales you could do, because there isn't enough of the stuff.
Yep.
But have you bought graded, or even looked at graded cards at a GameStop before? I've not had the privilege yet.
The only thing I've considered with GameStop is submitting graded cards with them, because they do some of the work, and it gets shipped to their location, they send it off, etc. And I think there's a little service fee or something. But the only thing I've considered is there. And then if I've been desperate for something, I've gone in there to try and have a look if I'm looking for something particular, but it's always the last place I look. The one I even went to is now shut down. They don't even run it anymore. Yeah. There's so much more, and I've gone into them pretty consistently over the last 18 months as my last resort. And I would tell you, there is nothing like the difference in stepping into a good card shop and then stepping into GameStop, and the sterile, horrible, it's just night and day different. Like, no wonder they're doomed.
None of the staff are doing it for the love of it, are they? And that's not just like them, They probably just do a job at the end of the day.
That's not the model, yeah.
But yeah. And then also, like you mentioned with the grading cards, that was like the second wave of their Pokemon crutch was, now we'll grade cards. We'll create a partnership with PSA. I believe you get a bit of a discount per card if you actually go through GameStop. It lowers, like, the barrier to entry for you to get into grading, right, not having to go to PSA direct. And then after that, I mean, this power pack stuff that they're doing, that's what's really making them money. And I feel like this is potentially where it is a PR play. So they've just got people hooked on. I say people hooked. I don't know that for sure.
Oh, it's happening. Of course it
There
is.
are
Stake
people that are
it out.
getting hooked on power packs.
Gambling. They're all
It's
gambling.
gambling.
And they've got no governing body on top
Nothing.
of it, making sure that the odds are in place and that it's legit.
And funnily enough, in the last week or two, they've just released a new level of power pack. I don't have the name of it here, but the top one before was 2,500. They've just released a $5,000 power pack. That's a $5,000
roll of the dice. You're a casino. You're a fucking casino.
Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
And so I wonder whether part of this is just like to play into that and get their name out there and push these even harder. I mean, maybe they'll try and get eBay, but I just think.
No, I think you could really be onto something, because when you look at how the interview went down publicly and the level of trolling that's going on, which is a very good level of trolling, by the way, fair play. But the rise of the mystery pack is a thing right now. Like we're in the storm right now of every company being created to be able to process mystery packs, and influencers and companies having the ability to take advantage of stock effectively, right?
Yeah.
And so we're at the beginning of what will eventually be. Some companies will be pulled for the corruption, and some companies will be pulled for the gambling addictions that they will be creating on their little online platforms and mystery pack platforms. But right now, it's not getting anywhere near the attention it should. And gameplay, they really could just be playing into that and becoming the next sort of FanDuel.
As someone who doesn't open these packs, have you ever opened one?
I have not, but I'd be lying to you to say that I haven't saved like 20% offers off on Instagram, like your first pack 20% off, because the idea of, I don't know, spending $100 but really spending 80, and then it is a gamble. I realize what it is. It is quite enticing, and with the graphics and the way it spins and the reveal and the fact you can have it sent to you, like it is really, really addicting. You get something every time, right? It's like a vending machine or exactly. One of those things. You get something every single time, so it is naturally a dopamine reward always. I have thought about doing it, Dom. I can't lie to you, but I have not actually gone through with it yet.
Well, it has made me think of a challenge. Maybe we should like do the lowest one, and then whatever card you get, you have to work your way up from that over the course of a month.
That's an idea. You're full of good ideas.
Write that one down. We'll have a look at that.
Mystery pack challenge.
Yeah. Mystery pack challenge. And then another thing it's making me think of, as someone who doesn't use these and doesn't really have any intention of using one, like as you know, you struggle to get me to open actual Pokemon
anything.
Most of the time.
I struggle to get you to get your cards out of a cardboard box.
Yeah, exactly.
Your bed, let alone open a bloody pack.
Yeah, true. But it does make me think, like, the only thing really driving these packs, I don't think they can ever get to a point where it's like you pay 50, 100, 250, 500, and the end result is just they send you a check. I don't think that's as enticing as the Grail cards, right? And where I'm going with this is, surely for any Grail card owner or vendor who's looking for these like low population, high value cards, which are kind of propping up the top end of the market, it's just driving into those values, and it's just going to continue to drive. And I don't see the gambling aspect. Like, there's multiple of these companies around. I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon. And
it's evolving. There's one, and again, I look at the influencers who are pushing this. Like, I can think of one. Like, obviously he could destroy me, but 5 Mega Booms or whatever his big name is, boom, 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 Meter Man. Like, I actually quite enjoyed his content with his son, but like they're now pushing this exact thing, but for watchers. So it's a watch pack where you mystery watch pack, you pay a certain level, which are even more expensive than the Pokemon card one. So I don't know. Like, again, you've got to really be conscious about what this is at its core. Which I don't think has got good intentions, and therefore, yeah, GameStop doing it. You got to really think about GameStop. It will continue to be a meme company.
Yeah, for a while, and obviously until they branch over to the UK, which I don't see happening anytime soon.
Do you know, for some random reason, I just would have thought they were there, and that I remember going into GameStops in the UK. But is there another?
We have Game. I don't think
Game.
The same.
Right. There is something. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the headline really to discuss, and
2 chunkers,
2 big ones. Yeah, I don't really have it. I don't know if you've got anything else like particularly new.
Honestly, no.
Something pops up every week, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, obviously, right now we're in the cusp of today. I've seen for the first time the official pictures of the partner illustration second Series 2.
Okay.
They're doing the other round of starters, which I know you're going to collect all of them. You're going to really want to pick those up.
So that's the Gen 2 starters, is it?
Yeah. Gen 2
Sweet,
starters.
yeah.
So they were just got today, I think that was dropped. And then also we're right in the middle of any day now we could get Pitch Black, which we're obviously really excited about. But between that ongoings with Pokemon and then these two major events, this is definitely what's dominated the last week or so.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Well, let's leave the news there for now and move on to our next section. And sorry, I just had a notification from my browser pop up over the top there. But I think we'll move on to On This Day, as we usually always do.
My favourite
segment. I've got a couple here. So again, we'll put up the screenshot for the Reddit post that we are looking at. And basically, each week we'll go back maybe 2, 3, 4 years. We look back through the internet at events that have happened in the Pokemon TCG space. We look at how they've kind of gone down since and discuss where they're at now. So this first one was from 3 years ago. It was on the Poke Investing Reddit, and somebody polled what would be the best modern singles to pick up and invest in from 23 onwards. And then they listed a bunch of sets. Now, Evolving Skies is the top one by a mile, and they weren't wrong. There was obviously always going to be the case that Evolving Skies singles were a good move, and anybody who went down that path and really invested fully has been rewarded since and is still being rewarded now. But a couple of notable kind of omissions. So Fusion Strike doesn't even show here on this poll, which is surprising considering Fusion Strike came out 2 years before this poll.
Oh my goodness, I'm just now seeing that. Yeah. So you have by far, as you said, Evolving Skies is the biggest, and then the Crown Zenith is surprising for me, Dom, because like that population-wise, it's like people are still opening that and ripping that and getting massive hit after massive hit.
Yeah, they are, and there are a couple of good cards in Crown Zenith, but on the whole, I mean, there's so many good arts in that set. A lot of them haven't increased massively in value in the last couple of years, even despite the giant boom,
It reminds me of modern day, like people probably will disagree with this, but it reminds me of modern day of Black Bolt and White Flare, just because the level of IRs and SIRs in those sets mean that the set has held a certain value. You'd actually be surprised looking at Black Bolt what the average cost of an IR is compared to like an IR equivalent in another set where it's worth nothing. Like Black Bolt, because of being popular, high rip rate, high hit rate, has maintained a certain value, but then has never pushed beyond it either. Right? And I think Crown Zenith is victim to the same thing. It's reached a limit and has struggled to really push beyond it.
Yeah, at the moment it has, and it is well out of print now, so you would think that the set would continue to increase, and I'm sure it will.
It did pop off, but not in the same sense of what others have done when they've gone out of print.
I mean, the Mewtwo V-Star from Crown Zenith really has taken off in recent times, and I think that was always an undervalued card ever since the set kind of finished. But in the last sort of month or so, that card has picked up quite a lot, or in the last 3 months, just after I sold one, actually, which is...
But you look at it has, and it is a good example of like the opposite of maybe what I'm saying, but look at the 4 gold ones, right? You've got the Giratina, Arceus, Dialga, Padalka, whatever the other one is, horse. Yep. Like if you were to take those cards in any other set where there was not the same hit rate, right? I think they would be worth double at this point now what they are, considering the set is out of print. So for people back in the day to be saying that this was the place to be putting your funds, like the Mewtwo is maybe the exception, as you said.
The Mewtwo is the exception. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if you look at the dogs, they've got great art, but they haven't increased in value massively. But that is partly down to the populations. They did print so much of this set, although it's kind of the antithesis of that is, and strangely, if you'd bought the sealed has gone up strongly compared to what it was when you could buy it. Like I was buying it under MSRP. So, funnily enough, if you just kept it sealed and sold it sealed cases or boxes of ETBs, you were onto a winner with this. But Fusion Strike being omitted is crazy, just to think that even 2 years after. And like that was a time I can remember when I was buying Fusion Strike at 80, 70, 80 pounds a booster box, 90 pounds a booster box. Probably around 2023 it started to pick up a little bit. But yeah, even like Lost Origin and stuff wasn't really talked about in this poll. I mean, the fact that Hidden Fates got nearly twice the vote, and Hidden Fates is nowhere to be seen now. Like nobody talks about it, right?
No. I'm just looking up the set values as well here. So Crown Zenith set value 2,500.
Yep.
Fusion Strike set value 2,000. So you're a $500 difference. With the Fusion Strike, you've obviously got like the top 3 cards. Well, the top card is the Gengar. It's holding near $900 and probably about to go up even more, a lot more.
Yeah.
Espeon VMAX will carry on growing because of being one of the evolutions at 285, nearly 300. Then you've got the Mew VMAX, which has just kept growing. All the Mew cards in this set have kept growing and growing and growing. That feels very different to looking at the Crown Zenith, where I do believe, like you look at the number 2 to 4, the gold cards, they should be worth way more than they are.
Yeah,
if the populations were lower, right? So I think that again, when you look back at what you were saying at the beginning of this, with people, what did they say? This is the best thing to invest money singles wise.
Singles, yeah.
Yeah, people were so wrong about Fusion Strike.
Yeah, I mean, like to be fair to now deleted account on this post, the very bottom comment on this post was just Fusion Strike. That's what he wrote.
Really?
And yeah, and he knew, whoever he or she knew when they wrote that, which is interesting because it didn't even hit the poll, and they wanted to vote for it, and it wasn't there. So that was one of our on this days for this week. And then I did have a second one. I always seem to find 2, so I can never commit to one. And this one's a bit more broad, but it was somebody called Sherbear1993, and they posted, where exactly are we currently in the boom and bust cycle? Now, they came into Pokemon in 2022, which was 2 years after COVID, really, a year after probably the bottom of the kind of downturn in the market from after COVID, or around there, early 2022. And they got in late 2022. And they were just asking a general question to the Poke Invested subreddit, like, where do you think we are right now? And is the market going to rise? And then it was difficult for them to get a sense of whether they should be bullish off the back of knowing that the market can crash. And then there's a real mix of responses in there as to where it's going next. And obviously nobody knows the future, but it's kind of interesting to think. I don't really think we've had a downturn since 2022.
No.
Not properly, like little dips. But personally, like that was an era of my collecting when I really realized, like off the back of the COVID boom, that perhaps my theory of like if you collected the best cards, they could be worth something. And rather than thinking, oh, it was a sort of splash in the pan or flash in the pan or whatever, when the market dipped, a lot of people were like, well, that's that. Pokemon's had its thing, it's over. I was thinking, nah, like this just shows it's got momentum. Like there's an opportunity here. And I can't really think from 2022 that we've had a proper dip.
We haven't, no. And we've also survived, well, that's off the COVID boom, right? But we've also survived a couple of some different economic times during those years as well, considering what we're going through now economically. I do wonder if that ultimately will be a factor that changes the Pokemon trajectory, but right now it's still a growing asset and hasn't slowed down, or it hasn't appeared to have slowed down much, depending on what you look at. There's some really good replies in here. Some people are way ahead of their time, and then some people are like completely off base.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, to see? That's why I like looking back, just to kind of get an idea of like, will history repeat itself? A lot of people here talking about market cycles, and that's always, in any financial investment, that's always a kind of a point of conversation. But especially with Pokemon, everyone talks about the cycles. And the strange thing about this current cycle is the ups were so much bigger than anyone expected, and any sort of downturns have only been like a month, 2 months, and then the market's picked right back up again and roared off and gone again. And is that a true cycle, or is the cycle much longer and we're waiting for a massive dip? Who knows?
Well, Break Your Teeth Now 3 years ago wrote under here that expect every 5 to 7 years for action to take place. So if that was 3 years ago, we could be set for 4 more years of growth, or we could be set for just 2 more years. But he still thinks we're firmly in the growth, and to his credit, he's probably right now.
Yeah, he was right, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah.
Whether he was saying to wait 5 or 7 years, but see, I don't know whether he was maybe saying to wait 5 or 7 years.
Oh, true.
Right?
True.
Maybe he was thinking like we had a downturn in 2020, 2021. In 5 to 7 years' time, it will pick up again. And it has, in fairness, it has picked up. Like 2025 was absolutely huge. 2026 is even bigger. And 2027 remains to be seen. But with the amount of content out there, the amount of people getting involved, the sets that are being released, these shows that we're going to, and the size of them and the number of vendors,
the generations that Pokemon seems to have no problem spanning and carrying on to span, like, it's crazy, dude. It's got all the recipes to carry on going, apart from the economic times.
Yeah, I guess like
one thing I have seen is, again, I don't want to speculate, and I won't call anybody out by name, but I have seen more than one Pokemon quote-unquote influencer all of a sudden have a change in tune and say that the Pokemon, after being a very crazy collector for like a 2-3 year period, people have sold it all because the space is too toxic, and all of them are getting out of the space because it's just too toxic right now, so I need to get out. It's got nothing to do with the fact that we tried to make content and spend a shit ton of money on credit cards for 3 years and now those bills are due. It's got nothing to do with that, I don't think. It's all to do with the space is too toxic right now. And I've seen probably 3 or 4 people get out of the space this week because of that. And you've just got to think that at some point the economics is going to catch up with a few people out there.
Yeah, I just don't even know. Like, I would never advise anybody to do this, but if you were leveraging buying Pokemon over the last 2 years on a credit card, I don't even understand how you could have lost.
Still, if you're a Rippin, though, if you're a Rippin and trying to make content off the Rippin, right? So you've invested $30,000-$40,000 in sealed content that you've ripped a ton of it. You're sitting on what's left, and now you're facing these credit card bills with a content channel that's not paying you like you'd hoped it would. Yeah, I mean, what would you do? I would get out and sell what I have left and try and capture back some of that payments.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I can't ever see myself being in that situation.
No. Oh no, obviously not, because you've got a 6-figure portfolio.
But you're right. Yeah, it's an interest. I suppose people already have done that, haven't they?
Yeah.
Too hard, and it's not quite worked out. Like, they're not the new,
that's it. Yeah.
The top dog, and
they're not Dom and Joe.
Well, we haven't ripped a pack in 5 episodes, so
no. And I've not opened Pokemon in weeks, and I have got I've got some Ascended Heroes I'm going to open, and I might do it this weekend. I am actually really looking forward to it. 10 packs of Ascended Heroes, looking forward to it, but ready to have my heart broken at the same time.
So next episode, can you bring your pools, and
we'll bring my pools next episode. There you go.
And I'll do a little before we go into a deep dive, which we haven't actually set on yet. I'll do a little update on the card show from the weekend, and
tell me about that. Where are you off to this weekend?
So I am going to Ipswich Card Show, which is a little local card show, not too far from me, about half an hour's drive. And I missed out on early bird tickets and even standard tickets. So I have a late afternoon ticket for the Sunday.
Really?
So it's not going to be a full day thing for me. But I haven't been to a show since London Card Show, the first one of this year. So I'm just kind of itching to get into one and see what it's like, see what's around, and
I don't think there's a bad time to enter a card show, by the way, because there's benefits to being there the first there in the door and having fresh stock.
Yeah.
There's also a benefit to, I think, going on the Sunday when vendors are trying to probably either exit out or buy more for their next show. Like, I don't think there's a bad time to go to a show, depending on what it is you're looking for, really. But I am surprised they're breaking it down into like an afternoon and a morning thing.
Yeah, do they not do that in the States at all?
No. You buy for the day. You can come and go as you please for that day.
So this is a 1 day show, and I wonder whether that's why. Perhaps because it's a 1 day show, so they do like an early bird ticket, and then they
I
do
reckon
an
you're right.
afternoon session. I'm not really going into it with the mentality of trying to find bargains. In fact, I kind of take the view that generally at card shows, you're going to find most stuff is at market or above market until you negotiate it down or you trade into it. And so for me, getting there hours earlier, I mean, if there was something I was desperately trying to find, or if I knew a vendor was going and they had a particular piece of stock which I wanted to secure, then I would go in earlier. But I'm going with an open mind. I'm going to do some window shopping. I will take some cards to trade, big and small, I guess, in those terms, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'll have something to come back to with a purchase.
But you just said it. You've got nothing particular that you're going for, right? No particular one card.
There are cards that I always have in mind, but whether they will appear at Ipswich Card Show is
another question.
Yeah, I don't think they will, to be honest with you.
Hey, what they're doing there by having 1 day and then being intelligent with the tickets is doing the opposite of what they did in North Korea or wherever they were in Korea. They're thinking about South Korea. There we go. I knew one of them was bad.
Oh my god! Can you imagine 30th anniversary North Korea with Kim Jong Un?
They'd probably be on a great show. It's all a show out of that country. They'd probably put on a great show, like very orchestrated type show. And you were never allowed to enter. You could only walk around the edge and never interact with anybody. It would be really, really great. But anyway, when they're doing what they should have done. So if 10,000 Magikarp show up at this Ipswich show, you know where they are.
Yeah, I can't imagine there will be any promos of this show. This will be
you'd be mugged in a heartbeat. You're in Ipswich. You'd be absolutely destroyed.
One of the smaller shows in the UK. But ukcardshows.co.uk does have like a full breakdown of all the local events. There are actually smaller ones than this. And there is actually one coming even closer to home soon, which I've seen that a local shop's putting on. So, these things just keep popping up. And you know what? I'm going to try and support them because at the end of the day, like, I never expected there to be a time when you could go to a card show almost every weekend if you were willing to drive. I mean, I'm talking about the UK here. In the US, it's even more than this. But in the UK, to be able to drive an hour and go to a card show any weekend, like, that's great.
You've got high school kids here working with the school to rent out the gymnasium and putting on card shows. You've got abandoned malls or malls that have got places shut down, allowing card shows to undertake in the whole mall. So you're wandering through a whole mall doing the cards. Like, there's a lot of things where this is popping up now, and you can see why people are putting the brick and mortars in place, like Tom Brady, and maybe why GameStop's trying to make a larger play, right? It makes sense because people are wanting regular access to trading cards and not wanting to wait 1 month for every show.
Yeah, and it's not just Pokemon. I mean, obviously Pokemon is leading the way, but all TCGs seem to be popping off.
All TCGs.
That would be interesting to see at Ipswich Card Show, like what the breakdown is. Last time I went, it was predominantly Pokemon, to be honest. But it was a new show, and Pokemon is what has been driving this sort of
market. If you find any of this, Lorcana, text me, all right? Because this is popping right now, annoyingly. I went to it because Pokemon was too much. I went to Lorcana, and now Lorcana is exploding. It's crazy.
It must be you.
It's the content, dude. It's the YouTube. It's this amazing deep dives.
I'm hoping I can pick something up, though. I don't really like going to a card show and buying nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I have done it before, but I'm taking a mix of, I'd say, singles that are like £50 to £100, and then I'm taking a couple of graded cards that are like under £300, and I'll probably take one graded card that's kind of over 1,000. And I'll just have that on me securely in my bag that I'll be clutching to, like it's And we'll just see if anything pops up. If sometimes you just don't know what you're gonna find. Like, you're just gonna have anything at any one time, and if I can find the right deal, then I will do something, and I'll report back next week.
Have you got a couple of minutes to quickly look at? We're 25% the way through our 30-day wait period for our 30-day flip or $100 flip. Got all sorts of names. Are you quickly good to look up the?
I'm good.
By looking at the progress we've made in 25 days or in 25% of the time.
Let's do it. How are you looking so far?
So just a reminder for anybody who's not familiar, me and Dom had a quick challenge where we had 30 days to spend $100. We're then going to sit on that card for 30 more days before selling it on eBay. Highest profit wins. We both bought at the bitter end of our 30-day period after humming and hawing about what to buy. And I ended up purchasing the Darkrai from, I forget the bloody name of the set now, but it's the Darkrai from, what set is it from, Dom? Hang on.
I'm not 100% sure.
I should know more here because I'm generally quite good with my modern Pokemon, but I will find the card and at the same time I'll be able to tell you how much
it's on you
up in price. Huh?
Have you got it on you, the card? I mean, I'm looking at mine right now.
I've got it behind me, but I want to find it quickly on my... Here we go. It's from Crown Zenith. We were bloody talking about it earlier like we're blue in the face, right?
Is it really?
Look at that. I slagged Crown Zenith and then went and invested in a card for a 30-day challenge. But it was more to do with the fact that it was a Darkrai and Pitch Black was coming out than it is a play from Crown Zenith.
Yeah, I understood that. And I think potentially a smart move over a month because a month isn't long for you to make a profit. So you had to find something that was going to move, hopefully.
So I paid exactly $100 for this, a clean $100 bill. And right now...
This is the Darkrai V-Star, right?
Yes, Darkrai V-Star, GG50, Crown Zenith. It's on like where he's on a lake or something, I guess. It's like daylight, but nighttime is weird. It's a weird card. But it's currently sitting at $104.04. I'm going to take the cents raw. So I have hypothetically made $4.04 right now, which is going to be what, 4% profit?
Smashing it,
brother. What have you done?
So I bought mine in pounds, and it was about 68, I think I paid, and it's currently sat at £76 on Collector.
Yeah, and we've got to look at that conversion rate because I can't have you winning because the dollar shat its pants or the pound through or something.
Let's have a look. So if you look up, I've got that it's $104, but I don't know what £68 is in dollars right now.
That sounds like you're doing better than me.
Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're dealing with way bigger margin already.
So £68 in dollars according to Google is it's annoying me that it's doing that. 92.62, so $12 currently.
Yeah, you're beating me. So I've got 3 weeks to make up, and hopefully the excitement of Pitch Black brings this Darkrai up beyond $12 more because I need that percentage.
I thought mine would drop, so I'm interested to see, like, just looking at it even on the short term graph, it is slowly going up day by day. So yeah, we'll see. And I do actually have another one of these which I've had for a while in a binder because I liked this card anyway, which I've already mentioned on here before. So yeah, good to see that they're on the up, and fingers crossed at the end of the 30 days. When is the end of the 30 days officially?
So it's the 8th today, so at the end of this month. So
right, end of this month.
30 days in this month. Yeah, because it's a Champions League final on May 30th, which is obviously the Arsenal are in, all right? So
trust you to bring that up with you.
Yeah. Slip that little one in there. Come on, you Gunners. Yeah.
Are we doing a Wild Collectors Appeared watch along?
Oh, we need to do something. My mate texted me saying, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "Oh, don't tempt me, Frodo. Don't tempt me."
Oh, mate, that would be nuts.
That'd be wild. It's a bit of a journey for me coming from Chicago, Istanbul. That'd be some journey.
Might never happen again, mate.
No, I know. Let's wrap the episode up there, Dom. That was a great catch up. We touched on some massive headlines, and next we're going to be doing a deep dive, right?
We're going to be doing a deep dive. So, like I say, we'll catch up on the card show. And then, we'll go into a deep dive, which yet undisclosed. So, we've got a few that we've kind of got noted down, and we'll pick one. We'll do a bit of research, and we'll put that together, and hopefully that's enjoyable.
Excellent. And if you haven't already, guys, please make sure you like, follow, subscribe. It makes all the difference for us small content creators trying to get off the ground here.
We're at 99 subs, so one person watches this and subscribes, that gets us to 3 digits. So
there you go. Be the 100th, guys. Be the 100th person. We would really appreciate it. All right. Pleasure speaking to you, Dom. I'll see you on the deep dive.
Bye.